Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Monday, February 24. Can you believe it? Good to see you this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm back from Chicago, where I had a wonderful, wonderful time with all the good people out there. A lot of our good sponsors of WCPT and with the DuPage County Democratic Party. But I'm back here ready with you to tackle the big stories of the day out in Arizona. The legislature has, this is unbelievable, passed a bill allowing business owners to refuse service to gays and lesbians if they say their religion says homosexuality is wrong. This is so crazy. Tell me, please, what religion teaches people to hate other people? Christianity doesn't. Judaism doesn't. Islam doesn't. Buddhism doesn't. I mean, this is wacky. This is so wrong. Governor Brewer should veto that legislation as fast as it gets to her desk. Meanwhile, Congress comes back to town this week. Not sure what to do. I got two ideas for them. Start off by raising the minimum wage and extending unemployment benefits, which expire the 1st of January. Both of those are overdue. Let's get it done. Vladimir Putin had a big weekend. Indeed, he won the Winter Olympics, but he lost the Ukraine. Oh, well, I guess you can't win them all. Yeah, so we got so much to talk about. Remember, you can join the conversation at any time by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. And you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Booming out to you again on Free Speech TV and nationwide and worldwide on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Let's get to it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction,
America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
Online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Big weekend for Vladimir Putin. He won the Olympics. He lost to Ukraine. Oh, well, can't win them all. Hey, what do you say? Hello, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great to see you this morning on this Monday. Big Monday, February 24. Hope you enjoyed the weekend, had a good time to kick back, relax. Boy, in Washington, D.C. yesterday, it was summer. At least it was a good shot of spring. People walking around, shorts and T-shirts.
Yeah,
That's a little extreme, but they couldn't wait to get the snow clothes out off them. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. At any rate, wherever you happen to be, hope it was good for you. And we are so happy to see you this morning on a Monday morning as we come out to you from our nation's capital, our studio here on Capitol Hill, perched straight up the street from the United States Capitol building, and reaching out to you on your local progressive talk radio station, also on Free Speech TV and on our video stream at TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. Speaking of your local progressive talk radio stations, such fun to be out in Chicago this weekend with all of our good friends from WCPT, the great staff there, Charlie Gross and Matt Cummings and Melissa Rizzi and the whole crowd, and some of the really good sponsors of the show, and the great people out of the DuPage County Democratic Party dinner Saturday night. Senator Dick Durbin was there, Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth,
nice,
Congressman Bill Foster, and Paul Vallis, who's running for Lieutenant Governor of Illinois. And the governor of Illinois could not be there, but his mother was there.
Oh, wow.
Governor Paquin's mother. Yeah. So it was a great time. And good to see all of you this morning, and good to see our team. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. I do remember your name. Good morning.
Good morning.
With Alicia Cruz. Is she there? Yeah, there she is. Okay, good. And Cyprian Balding has got us covered on the video cam this morning.
Everybody's here.
Everything good?
Yes, sir.
I have to tell you, great time. Columnist Bakery.
I was gonna say, if you haven't followed BP Show on Twitter yet, which, by the way, shame on you if you haven't, but you should follow at BP Show on Twitter, because you tweet from the White House press briefings. We tweet stuff throughout the show, and if you were following over the weekend, you gave us some pretty good shots.
Got some photos out there from Columnist Bakery. They have the best cakes, cookies, smoked meats, regular meat section, and then bread.
The bread wall.
44 different kinds of bread.
How many?
Bread wall. 44.
Wow.
Yeah. For everything. I can't even.
I was looking at the picture. I'm going, I don't know what these breads are. I don't even know what they are.
But the breads that they're proudest of are sprout breads, where they grow their own sprouts and then make breads out of the sprouts. So this goes on and on, but different, rye and wheats, and you can't imagine.
Shout out.
Yeah, it's hard to pick, but I brought some back.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have any yet. So.
What'd you bring home?
This table looks a little bare of bread.
And while I was at it, every once in a while I'd catch a TV and be able to catch some of the Olympics. Yeah, really. It turned out to be, I think, a very impressive, very fun Winter Olympics. It has ups and downs, but no security problems, thank God.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing.
And the home team won, which certainly probably the Russians probably feel, well, it was worth $50 billion. Jeez. And, there is such a thing as Thomas Bach, who is the head of the IOC, talked about a home team advantage, even in the Olympics.
If the home team is successful, then of course the crowds are being more enthusiastic, and the Olympic atmosphere is really building up.
Yeah. So the home team crowd, they were happy. Russians were, I think, could be justifiably proud.
Sure.
And the closing ceremonies, spectacular.
I didn't see
the opening ceremonies. I just saw some clips of it. And of course, Elisa would not be happy if we did not.
Do we have to?
do we not notice? Yeah. I mean, I have to tell you, the U.S. team, you got to admit, I love them, but they didn't show up for the bronze. Did not show up.
No, I mean, look, they got routed in the in both the game against Canada and in the bronze game.
Yeah,
they were outclassed.
Yeah, they really were. Too bad, but Canada came through. Did they ever against Sweden yesterday? And the Canadian fans very happy.
Just another dominating performance by Canada. It was great to see all the Canadians there. I mean, you could have a hockey game in the North Pole and we'd all show up and watch it. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Would you go to the North Pole, Lisa?
Pretty much. It's in the blood, right?
Let me just say this.
It's by birthright.
Let me just say this to our Canadian friends, you especially, Elisa. Anytime you want to come on down and play some football, basketball, baseball, okay? Bring it on.
Touche.
Bring it on.
All right. We got it. Hey, as we do every Monday, we'll be checking with a hotline for what we might expect out of Washington, if anything, this week as Congress comes back. Father Thomas Reese, who has become, under Pope Francis, one of the most outstanding and most quoted commentators on the Vatican, will be joining us today to talk about the latest from Pope Francis. And Clinton Yates, good friend from Washington Post, will be here as a friend of Bill a little bit later in the morning. So lots of good stuff coming up. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. If you use Gmail, you get a lot of these emails from advertisers and group lists that you don't necessarily want to be on. And a lot of times it's hard to get off of those lists. Well, this week, Gmail is going to start rolling out a new unsubscribe link. It's a one-button feature that comes on all emails from stores and advertisers. You can just click and poof, you're off. No more.
Wow.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's really hard to get off of those lists.
I know it is, and sometimes you can unsubscribe and it doesn't
take you off.
Yeah,
exactly. The Tonight Show, as we know, moved back to New York with Jimmy Fallon. Not only did Jimmy Fallon come with him, a large tax break came along with it. NBC saved reportedly more than $20 million a year because of a 30% tax credit used to lure the show away from California after 4 decades.
No kidding.
Yeah. Mayor Bill de Blasio said that the show brings more than 100 jobs to hardworking New Yorkers and gives travelers another reason to visit. But yeah, some people are saying that 30% tax credit, like I said, $20 million just because it moved back to Manhattan is really something else.
That sounds to me like New York outbid California there. Some people in California must have been asleep at the switch.
Yeah.
In L.A. or I don't know if it's the state or but both. The state and the city should have been there for that.
Yeah. And we got news over the weekend that Jason Collins, former Washington Wizards, the first professional athlete to come out of the closet. He hadn't been playing basketball for a while. He didn't have a team. Well, over the weekend, he was signed by the Brooklyn Nets. He, last night, began his first game. It was the first NBA game with an out gay athlete playing.
He actually played last night?
He actually played last night. didn't have the greatest game. The good news is the Nets won. They beat the Lakers 108-102. Collins played for 10 minutes, 37 seconds. He had 1 rebound, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, and 5 fouls. It's a little bit of a shaky game, but he was there. He was there, and it was a historic moment.
Well, see, that's the problem. When you put those guys, they're rough. They're mean. They're tough. That's it. So they
5 fouls in 10 minutes and 37 seconds. I mean, you're hacking. You are hacking. So
All right.
Good for him, though.
Who said those games? They were not real men. Right?
Yeah. Let me tell you something. He's not going to be accused of being a sissy or anything like that. I mean, 5 fouls is. You're throwing your weight around.
Yeah, you got it. Hey, anyhow, so good to be with you today. And boy, got to start off today with this. I just can't believe this legislation. I want to get your take on the latest out of Arizona. Look, I've been to Arizona many times. Wonderful people there. A wonderful state. Good. We've been out to Scottsdale, Peter, for on a field trip. A great affiliate there in Phoenix. But boy, the state legislators and the governor of Arizona, they under them, sadly, Arizona has become sort of the kooky right-wing Tea Party extremist capital of the United States. The legislation that comes out of that state capital. Remember, just a couple of years ago, Arizona passed this extreme anti-Latino legislation that said anybody walking down the street, if they have brown skin, they could be stopped anytime and forced to show their papers to any cop at all when to stop them, just simply because they had brown skin. That was finally overturned, I believe, by the U.S. Supreme Court. But Jan Brewer signed that legislation. Here's the latest, and this is just as bad. The legislature now has passed something. It's on the governor's desk. It's called, maybe you haven't heard about this. Get this. It's called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. This is what you want to do. When you want to hide your bigotry and hide your hatred, you put some highfalutin name on it like this, right? It's like Ronald Reagan used to call those missiles the Patriot, I think, or something like that. He named them. Right. But anyhow, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Other legislators were calling this the Christian Shield. And what it says is that restaurant owners or other business owners can refuse service to somebody just because they're gay or lesbian if they claim that their religion is against homosexuality. If their religion thinks homosexuality is wrong, then they got a restaurant, they got a coffee shop, right? They got a photo shop, they got whatever business, you name it, right? A hardware store. Somebody comes in and they suspect them of being gay or lesbian, they can refuse service to them. I mean, hello? And there are people at the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And boy, the Arizonans are split over this too, and so are the people of the country. Have heard about it. Here's one state legislator trying to say, this is important for people of faith.
This bill ensures that people are able to live and work according to their faith.
Live and work according to their faith? It assures that they're able to hate and then have some cover for it. That's what it is. Protesters around the state legislature see it for what it is.
They need to keep their religious philosophies in their churches.
It just seems like it's setting up an environment for hate and dissension.
So here's my question to you. Is this really about faith, or is this really about hatred? Is this really about the Bible and being true to one's faith, or is it about using the Bible and using one's faith to cover up pure, outright bigotry? I got to tell you, this is so wrong, I believe, for so many reasons. First of all, it's just outright discrimination. There's no way to mask this. This is outright discrimination. This takes us back to the days of black, white drinking fountains and white drinking fountains, black bathrooms and white bathrooms. I said this earlier. I'd like to bring these people back here to Washington, take them to the American History Museum, and show them that lunch counter right on the left as you walk in the front, right, where the young black teenagers sat there and refused to get up to make a point that they have the right to get served at any restaurant just the same way as any white Southerner had to. I mean, we've been over that in this country. They want to take us back there in Arizona, number one. Number two, look, you know what this is? This is a reaction on the part of the religious right because they are losing the battle on same-sex marriage. There are 29 states that have a constitutional ban against same-sex marriage, and one by one, they're falling. Utah, gone. A judge ruled it out. Virginia, judge ruled it out. Oklahoma, a judge ruled it out. There's one other state, the judge has said, no, it doesn't pass muster. So they're losing this battle. Now they're come up with this plan. Oh, we'll hide behind the Bible. And third point I'd make is it is totally unconstitutional. There is no way under the Constitution you can say, which is the law of our land, right? It's what we're built on. We're not based on the Bible. We're built on the Constitution. I made that point so many times. There is no way under the Constitution you can justify making one set of Americans, one group of Americans, set them apart and say they don't get the same rights and the same privileges. They can't enjoy them because they happen to be gay or lesbian. And the final point is, I feel so strongly about this. This is not Christian. This has nothing to do with Christianity. This is the antithesis of Christianity. And how dare they call this the Christian shield? That if you only call yourself a Christian, you have the right. This is what the people of this bill says. If you only call yourself a Christian, you have the right, under the name of Christianity, to hate people and to discriminate and to treat them differently just because they happen to be gay or lesbian. I mean, this is not just an affront to the LGBT community. It's an affront to all Americans. And I'm afraid that this crazy Jan Brewer is going to sign this legislation. She signed the immigration bill. This is bad for different reasons. So again, my question is, this is a big debate now, is this all about faith or is this all about hate? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it this Monday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yeah, remember that old song, Jesus Loves Me? Yes, I know, because the Bible tells me so. Well, in Arizona, I hate gays, yes, I know, because the Bible tells me so. Yeah. It wasn't so long ago in this country, 50 years, right, that people in the South actually said the Bible told them that blacks were not equal and should not be treated equally. And they went to church on Sunday, and that's what they heard from the pulpit. The Bible says blacks are not as good as whites. And now we're saying the Bible says gays are not as good as straight people. I want to invite you to join my church. In my church, we don't pay income taxes because of the Bible. We believe the Bible says, you don't have to pay your income taxes. We don't obey speed laws either. The Bible says, no, you don't have to. 55? The Bible says anything goes. God, Jesus is right. Peter?
Yeah, we're on
comments?
Twitter at
Lots of
BP
calls.
Show.
We'll get to you.
Sure, we're on Twitter at BP Show, where we had Mama for Obama says this Christian shield law in Arizona is about hatred, not love.
Yep.
Change gay to black or disabled, and how many would stand for it?
Yep, exactly. Here is Aki, I believe, from Hammond, Louisiana. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What's your point?
This law is going to open up a can of worms because it also says you could deny services. So if you're a fireman and there's a gay house on fire, you don't have to put the fire out. It could open up to, it opens up to other people's discrimination. You launch an Aryan church, you don't have to serve black people. If you adhere to Sharia law, if the women are not covered up, you don't have to serve them. It opens up too much. It's not a Christian shield law. It's a big law for everybody.
You got it. Absolutely. Imagine a cop says, no, I'm not going to help you. You're gay.
Is the Bill Press Show.
Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
So much in history of, and here we see it again in Arizona, of people trying to use the Bible, trying to use their faith, particularly Christians do this all the time, but we have seen that some Islamic terrorists have tried to do it too, use their faith to justify hatred or violence or discrimination or bigotry, and every time that happens, we've got to get out there and shoot it down. And some good news on this front. I've just saw that Senator Jeff Flake, Republican from Arizona, U.S. Senator, has tweeted out that he hopes this bill is called SB 1062. He has called on Governor Jan Brewer to veto that legislation. And I salute him for that. He's a real conservative Republican, the real thing. And he says he sees that this is wrong. John McCain, the other Republican senator from Arizona, has said that he could not support SB 1062. So at least at the national level, you're seeing some leadership there. But I tell you, I don't trust that crazy governor. I mean, she is.
No, I wouldn't
she
either.
is insane. Susan, calling from Denver, Colorado. Hey, Susan, what do you say? Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
going to try to make my connections of the dots as quickly as possible, but I've been slowly watching this last year, all of this take place. And
it's pretty frightening, isn't it?
It's terrifying to me. This is something that hasn't happened overnight, though, and people don't realize that. They've been distracted and deluded for many years. This has taken to set up. And they keep us, poor, so we're worrying about paying our bills and getting to work, and we can't focus on family or what is actually going on in the uninformed media that's not even telling us the full truth.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here.
The very topic you're even addressing, like, is it religion or is it race? Well, it's discrimination as a whole there.
Totally. And what makes it worse to me, Susan, I really appreciate the call, is it's a discrimination in the name of religion, which is just, it doesn't connect, it doesn't add up, it is wrong, and they've got to be called on it. By people of faith, by the way, and say, no, look, you may have those feelings, but you cannot get away with breaking the law. You cannot get away with treating people differently. You cannot get away with discrimination in this country and say your faith tells you to do it. Your faith doesn't tell you to do it, and it's wrong under our Constitution. William is down in Thomasville, Georgia. Hello, William.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, I was commenting on this new religious thing they come up with, but my point is when the human rights law was passed, and since gay people are human beings, they have an equal protection under the law. But for a governor, she's a flake anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The president of the United States visits her, and she walks out shaking her finger in his face.
Remember that? Right? Yeah.
And also in 1948, everybody said about black people when Truman was
integrating the military.
The military, plus the Board of Education in Topeka, Kansas, and everybody in the whole country, the white people in the South, said this is going to drag the country down because we didn't have what it takes to be equal.
Right. Now, of course. William, appreciate the point. Got to move on. But, you're absolutely right. And I made that point earlier. We've been there. We fought those battles. We put down that bigotry and against African Americans in this country. And here this ugly head of bigotry raises its face again, this time directed against gays and lesbians in Arizona. And again, in the same way that people tried to hide their hatred of blacks behind the Bible in the South, now in Arizona they're trying to hate their hatred of LGBT Americans behind the Bible as well. It's the same, exactly the same thing, equally wrong.
Just a quick mention that you can always reach out and comment on Twitter at BP Show. Raising one eyebrow says, this Arizona bill just follows Jesus' rule. Screw unto others as you would have them screw unto you. Phil says, call it what it is. It is a bigot shield.
That's what, no, absolutely. And again, you can see what's happening. To me, this represents, get back to your calls in just a second here, but this represents panic on the part of these I call them anti-Christian, right, and certainly homophobic Americans who see that they're losing. They exulted because they were able to get out and get 29 states to adopt constitutional bans against same-sex marriage. And now, judge after judge after judge in state after state after state is knocking them down. Even in Utah, it was declared unconstitutional. In Oklahoma, unconstitutional. In Virginia, unconstitutional. So they see that they're losing in the courts. So now they figure, we got a new idea. Let's run to the Bible. And we'll wrap ourselves in the Bible. And who can oppose that? Well, guess what? Yeah, any real Christian or any real person of any faith can oppose that, and anybody who believes in the Constitution can oppose that. And I come back to our fundamental foundation, right, on which this country exists and thrives is the Constitution of the United States. It is not the Bible. Caleb is out in Chicago, Illinois. Hey, Caleb, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Enjoyed Chicago this weekend. Great town. I love it.
Yeah, it's too cold out here, but
it warmed up a little bit on Saturday.
Yeah, just a little bit. Let me get to my point here. I'm a Christian, and you just recently said that we need people of faith need to call out this bill, and that's what I'm calling to do. Is I don't believe that we should, as Christians, discriminate against anybody. It's completely wrong. It's not what the Bible says. It's not what Jesus says. It's not any of that. And I do believe that. I mean, I've had gay, lesbian friends, and I wouldn't want them to look down at me for some of the things that I'm doing wrong that the Bible says. And so I mean, I'm just calling to say that.
I'm really glad to hear from you on that point, Caleb, and I think that's extremely important. And I think most Christians accept that. It's just these wackos out there. It's like this Fred Phelps church, right? To go out and protest at the funerals, and they of our service members who come, those who've lost their lives and given their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they protest at their funerals, and they say they're doing so in the name of Christianity, in the name of faith. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're just ugly, hateful people, and I resent the fact that they try to call this a Christian shield. In Albuquerque, New Mexico, hey, Betty, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
I watched one of the Olympic contestants the other day skate to Avril Lavigne's hauntingly beautiful rendition of John Lennon's Imagine. And I thought, what timely words, so relevant to now. Imagine that there's no country, it isn't hard to do, nothing to live or die for, and no religion too. No wonder he was considered such a threat to society. And the thing that I want to ask you, Bill, isn't it...
I'm glad you reminded me. The words, the lyrics to that song that he wrote, they're wonderful. They're just fantastic. They really are. Thank you.
Just beautiful.
I'm just going to go back and read them again. Go ahead. Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you, sir, is don't you find it very, very relevant now that which Ronald Reagan destroyed, a beautiful and once admired mental health care system, could be used in such a timely manner now to take care of, facilitate these people that would advocate on behalf of such legislation?
No, absolutely, Betty. I do. In fact, if they had an institution for the mentally deranged in Arizona, I've got a few state legislators and one governor that I would consider to be the founding fathers and mothers of that institution, indeed. Okay, we got to move on. We will here with the hotline, but we'll talk more about this later in the show. And us again, continue to send your comments on this Arizona law to us at Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPress Show. Hotline coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years. They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is
good
the
morning,
Bill
friends
Press
and neighbors.
Show.
What do you say? Monday,
13
February
minutes
24,
before the top of the hour.
It is Monday, February 24. Been kind of quiet in Washington, D.C., but the Congress comes back in town this week. So they may stir things up a little bit. President Obama, meanwhile, spent a lot of time this weekend with the Democratic governors and with then all the governors from Republicans and Democrats, talking to them about the issues that he thinks they can work together on. Maybe one of them being Obamacare, although I'm not sure all the governors are ready to sign on to that. Stephen Shepard covers what's happening here in our nation's capital for the Hotline, editor-in-chief of the Hotline. Hey, Stephen, good morning.
Morning, Bill. How are you?
Fine. Congratulations on your new job. You'll be moving along to Politico, right?
That's right, at the end of the week.
End of the week. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. All right. Well, we hope to be able to talk to you at Politico.
Definitely.
For sure. So, President Obama, it seems to me that these governors' meetings, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall for some of them, right? Because, first of all, you've got a lot of people in there in that room who would like to take his place 2 years from now, or several of them anyway.
That's definitely true. You've got, on the Republican side, Bobby Jindal of Louisiana, John Kasich of Ohio, Scott Walker of Wisconsin, Chris Christie of New Jersey. And then also on the Democratic side, you have a couple of governors that are looking at potentially running for president. Martin O'Malley of Maryland, Deval Patrick of Massachusetts, to name a couple. Potentially Jay Nixon of Missouri. That definitely adds an interesting dynamic, and they're going to do this again next year and the year after, which will make it even more interesting as we get closer to 2016. But for now, President met with the Democrats late last week. Today, he'll have all the governors over at the White House this morning and speak with them as they prepare to leave town. They've been meeting at the JW Marriott downtown for the entire weekend.
Yeah. You know, I'll be down there at the briefing today, and it's always interesting because a lot of times people meet with the president, and, you know, we have the stakeout right at the White House. That's what they call where the microphones are always set up for people who leave meetings in the Oval Office to come out, if they choose to, right, and speak to reporters and talk about their meeting with the president and what they talked about and all that kind of stuff. And so often, people just... that's the last thing they want to do, right? They want to run for the gate as fast as they can. Not the governors. The governors always want to stop and talk and get on national television.
Yeah. Well, the members of Congress who go to the White House, they have to deal with the DZ press corps all the time. But the governors who, especially if you're a governor of a small state who isn't really mentioned for president, it's really your moment in the sun. Oh, yeah. 4 Republican governors are actually going to hold a organized press conference across the street at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is just north of the White House, as you know. That's going to be Bobby Jindal, whom I mentioned, and then a few other governors who were mentioned possibly for 2016: Rick Perry of Texas, Nikki Haley of South Carolina, and Bill Haslam of Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to get down there. I remember last year when they all came out, and they again, unlike many people in the news, they come out and they're willing to spend as much time as you want answering questions. But the thorny issue, I guess, is the expansion of Medicaid. And I would imagine the president's going to be pretty direct about that, right, with these governors, and just tell them this is something that they got to do.
I mean, this has been a big issue facing the states really since the passage of the health care law in 2010. And different states, you've seen a real divide in how blue states and how red states have taken this on.
Yeah.
The couple of states that have been sort of an interesting model are states controlled by the other party.
Ohio.
Ohio's a state that leans slightly Democratic when it comes to presidential elections, but is controlled by a Republican governor. Iowa, on the other side, Arkansas, and now you're seeing in Virginia with the new Democratic governor, they're trying to take up Medicaid expansion. A lot of these states, what they did was they found another way to get it done that wasn't like wholesale Medicaid expansion, but they worked out a deal with the federal government to cover their citizens while also maintaining some idea of that this is specific to this state, and that's a good message for example, a Democratic governor in Kentucky like Steve Beshear, or a Republican governor in Iowa like Terry Branstad, where you could say, we're not going to stand and try to stop this law, but we're also going to do it our way.
Right. Yeah. Which is a compromise that Kathleen Sebelius and I think President Obama have been willing to
absolutely
to consider. I was just looking just before we came on. There are 25 states now that have signed on, and the District of Columbia, to extension of Medicaid under Obamacare. 21 have said flat out no. And 4 of them are in the process of considering how they're going to work it out. So just about half the states so far. And Stephen, as I recall, the federal government pays 100% of this expansion of Medicaid for the first 3 years, correct?
That's right. Well, part of the big sort of objection that some Republican governors have cited is that, first of all, what they're saying now is for the first 3 years only, and they are worried about, whether legitimate concerns or not, about the future and whether the states will have to bear, by expanding Medicaid now, whether that means 4 or 5 years down the road, they're going to have to bear too heavy a financial burden, and then that's really going to, they say, imperil their state budgets and require tax increases and all the sorts of things that they wouldn't want to do, either them or their successors as governor.
Right. And then plus there's the fact that President Obama is for it, so therefore they're inclined to be against it anyway. Stephen Shepard, it's been great of you to spend so much time with us in your present job, and we will look forward to talking to you at Politico. Thanks, Stephen.
Definitely, Bill. Thanks.
All right. Editor-in-Chief of the Hotline, nationaljournal.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, in the next hour, Father Thomas Reese to tell us all about what's the latest with Pope Francis. Peter?
You remember not so long ago, the president had to come out and say he was going to stop spying on German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out that while we might have stopped on her, we haven't stopped on some of the senior German government officials. According to Bild am Sonntag, the German newspaper, says that the NSA has continued spying and stepped up spying on everyone but Angela Merkel.
Come on. Don't tell me. NSA out of control. Himmel.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Monday, February 24. Can you believe it? Good to see you this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm back from Chicago where I had a wonderful, wonderful time with all the good people out there. A lot of our good sponsors of WCPT and with the DuPage County Democratic Party. But I'm back here ready with you to tackle the big stories of the day out in Arizona. The legislature has, this is unbelievable, passed a bill allowing business owners to refuse service to gays and lesbians if they say their religion says homosexuality is wrong. This is so crazy. Tell me, please, what religion teaches people to hate other people? Christianity doesn't. Judaism doesn't. Islam doesn't. Buddhism doesn't. I mean, this is wacky. This is so wrong. Governor Brewer should veto that legislation as fast as it gets to her desk. Meanwhile, Congress comes back to town this week. Not sure what to do. I got two ideas for them. Start off by raising the minimum wage and extending unemployment benefits, which expire the 1st of January. Both of those are overdue. Let's get it done. Vladimir Putin had a big weekend. Indeed, he won the Winter Olympics, but he lost the Ukraine. Oh, well, I guess you can't win them all. Yeah, so we got so much to talk about. Remember, you can join the conversation at any time by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. And you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Booming out to you again on Free Speech TV and nationwide and worldwide on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Let's get to it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
I told you it wouldn't work. Piers Morgan. Boom. Out at CNN. Never should have hired him in the first place. Good morning, everybody. Monday, February 24, and so good to see you. So good to be with you this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. I sure did. And it's great to have you back here on the Bill Press Show, booming out to you all across this great land of ours on our local progressive talk radio stations, all across this country on Free Speech TV, coast to coast, and on our video stream, TawkrTV. We don't even stop all around the planet, everywhere you can, everywhere on the globe. And we invite you to join us at that youtube.com/TawkrTV. Whether you're listening or watching, welcome to the program. Welcome to a whole new week with a whole new set of issues to talk about, and some left over from last week as well, of course. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what you think about it at 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. Your comments on Twitter have been going wild this morning at BP Show. That's it, our Twitter handle, at BP Show. And on Facebook, of course, it's facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And look who's here, Peter Ogburton and Elisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Morning.
Alicia Cruz, she's there on your, take your phone calls again at 866-55-PRESS. And on the video stream and on Free Speech TV, we're looking good because of our videographer, Cyprian Bolding. Yes, indeed. And I'm back from Chicago at a great, great time visiting all of our good friends at WCPT, 820 AM. And then the 3 FM stations, 92.5, 97.5, and 99.9, reaching out all through the Chicago suburbs. And then we visited some of the great friends at the station who advertise on the station. Colatex Bakery. Yeah, fabulous place, man. I could have spent the entire day there just eating my way through it. Went to a place, Best Vacuums. We've done some ads for them.
Yeah.
We offer a great line of vacuum cleaners and humidifiers, rather, which are very important in the Chicago area.
You were explaining this. I didn't realize it was such a big deal, but yeah.
I didn't either. But apparently, in Chicago, you have to have it gets so cold.
Cold, dry air.
And that cold, dry air, you need the humidifier. They do a great job. And the thing that, and then the DuPage County Democratic Party, listen, get this. This is where this area was represented at one time by DuPage County, by Dennis Hastert, Henry Hyde, and Phil Crane. 3 right-wingers, right? And now it's represented by Tammy Duckworth, Bill Foster, and Mike Quigley.
Wow.
Now, so they've done all that, really built, and it was a big, huge crowd out there Saturday night. And it was a lot of fun. Senator Dick Durbin, our good friend, was there, and it was just great to see everybody there. And by the way, the thing that I was most impressed by were the potholes in Chicago. The potholes.
Yeah?
Let me tell you. Do you think they're bad here in D.C.? But, with all the snow they've had.
Sure.
All the salt that they've used.
Oh,
so now that the snow is melted, man, I'm telling you, we were driving around, Matt Cummings and I, for the program director at WCPT. In front of us, there was an SUV, went in a pothole, never came out. I swear. I kid you not.
Never to be heard from again.
Ron Emanuel's got some work to do, man, in this career. All right, we got a great lineup coming up here. Father Thomas Reese, good friend from the National Catholic Reporter, will kick off here at the top of the hour. We're going to be joined a little bit later by Will Dobson from Slate magazine to talk about Ukraine, what's happening over there. And then in the next hour, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post and Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. If you use an iPhone or an iPad, you need to update your firmware right now. On Friday, Apple released iOS 7.0.6. The point is that it turns out that it was your iPhone or your iPad is very, very exposed to a potential hacker or someone who could get into your network. Apple thought they had it figured out. They didn't have it figured out. So there's a new fix. You have to download the new software, and everything should be fine. But do it now if you haven't done it.
All right, will you show me how to do that right after the show?
Absolutely.
I remember I upgraded last year to something, I forget. But
They put out these software things.
I just want to be sure I do it right away. So
we get you taken care of. Yes, sir.
All right.
The final U.S. event of the Sochi Games was the 4-man bobsled, and the Americans won bronze. What's bigger than that is one of the members of that 4-man bobsled team is a man by the name of Chris Vogt, F-O-G-T, Vogt?
I don't know.
You figure it out. But he was a member of the team. They won bronze. Now, what's next for him? He goes back to being active duty military in about a month and a half.
No kidding.
He took some time. He was in Iraq. He came back from Iraq in 2010, started training with the United States bobsled team.
Wow.
And now that he's won bronze, he's going to go home to his pregnant wife. They're about to have a child. And then he goes back to active duty military.
Good for him.
Yeah, man. Talk about all-American guy.
I got to tell you.
And we talked about Facebook's acquisition of WhatsApp last week. It's a messaging service. You can send essentially text messages back and forth. But now they have made it official. They are going to add voice messaging in the second quarter of this year. WhatsApp has 465 million users. And so now it's not just a matter of text messaging back and forth. You'll be able to make phone calls, voice messages back and forth. So look for that later on this year.
And WhatsApp crashed, right?
WhatsApp did crash over the weekend. Yeah. That's what happens when you get $19 billion.
Right. 12 minutes after the hour now. Yes, indeed. Everywhere I got to tell you, everywhere I go, it seems in any circles, dinner parties or cocktail parties or riding on a train or riding on a plane, you strike up a conversation with somebody, people want to talk about Pope Francis. He has made such an impact. Father Thomas Reese is the senior analyst for National Catholic Reporter, who was there in Rome doing a lot of national television when the Pope was elected, and he joins us on our news line this morning. He's been commenting all over the place about what the Pope's up to since then. Father Reese, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Good to be back with you.
Thank you. I haven't talked to you in quite a while. I was just looking. It's March 13, not even 1 year that Pope Francis has been in office. Have you ever seen any pontiff make such an impact in so short a time?
No, this is incredible. This Pope has been a surprise from the very beginning when he was elected, right. And he's kept surprising us every week with what he does and what he says.
You know, I guess we shouldn't have been surprised in a sense, right? Because wasn't he the runner-up to Pope Benedict the last time around?
That's right. He was the runner-up at the last election. But also, there was so many things about him that made us kind of say, oh, he'll never be elected. The fact that he was from Latin America, the fact that he was a Jesuit, the fact that he was, hate to say it, so old. All of those things made us think, nah, they won't elect him.
Does he continue to live the simple lifestyle that we heard about in the beginning?
That's right, he does. This is something he did when he was in Buenos Aires. When he was there, he got rid of the chauffeur-driven limo that the Archbishop always had. He decided he didn't want to live in the Episcopal Palace. So he lived in a simple apartment, cooked his own meals, and, took the bus and the subway to when he went around visiting parishes and things like that. And so we see a lot of that again now that he's Pope. He doesn't live in the Papal Palace. He has a simple lifestyle. He picks up his meals in the cafeteria and eats with people there. It's just not it's not like it used to be.
Well, his message of tolerance and understanding and peace and his emphasis on poverty, I mean, it is so refreshing and sort of the kind of Catholicism or faith that you and I have always thought was the true path, if you will. But I guess my question, Father, is it he embodies this, right? But does it go beyond just one person? Is there any way that this change in emphasis, I mean, can be institutionalized or last beyond him?
Well, that's a really, really good question, because what he's doing, really, he's trying to change the culture of this institution. And that's really tough in any organization. He's not just moving boxes around on the organizational chart, which a lot of people think is reorganizing.
Mm-hmm.
He's modeling what it means to be a good bishop, what it means to be a good priest, what it means to be a good Christian. And this is having, hopefully will have an effect, but it only is going to change the church if we change, if people change. A lot of people have talked about the Francis effect, like you did.
Yeah.
That people are giving the church a second look. They're coming back and saying, in fact, I got a wonderful email from a journalist whose name I won't tell you, who said Francis has performed his first miracle. His wife said that we ought to start going back to church. The problem is, if they come back to church and they don't find somebody like Francis at the parish, they're not going to come back again.
I heard that in Chicago just over the weekend. Somebody was saying that he noticed in his church that the pews are suddenly full again, right? That people are coming back, and Francis is having that impact. So what can he do to institutionalize? I hate to use that word, but the change, is it by the kind of cardinals and bishops he appoints, or?
Well, that's going to be extremely important. I mean,
and we've seen his first round, right?
Yes. I mean, you've seen him already change some of the key people in the Vatican. He has a new Secretary of State who's a real professional, knows what he's doing, and is on board with what Francis wants. He also made an extraordinary change. There's a famous cardinal from the United States, Cardinal Burke, who was on the Congregation for Bishops. Now, this is the committee that helps pick bishops all over the world, and so he was very influential in influencing who would be made a bishop in the United States. Well, this, let's put it politely, this man was quite conservative. And now he's been replaced with Cardinal Donald Wuerl from Washington. D.C. Now, Cardinal Wuerl is no liberal, but he is much more moderate than Cardinal Burke, and so the kind of bishops that we'll be choosing in the United States will be more moderate than they have been in the past.
And several people have made the point, Father, I wanted to ask you about that. What the Pope is doing doesn't represent so much a change in doctrine as a change in tone, I guess, and direction. Is that a correct reading? And
well,
is that
it's
enough?
a correct reading, but I think that's more important than people give them credit for. I mean, style is substance in the Catholic Church. When you walk into church, if somebody's talking about rules and regulations and is yelling at you and saying, you're a terrible person, as opposed to you come into church and they're talking about God loves you. God is compassionate and merciful. He's like a loving parent. I compare it to, when kids come home for Christmas from college, how are they greeted by their parents? Is it with a hug or with a series of interrogations? What's with the nose ring? What's with the tattoo?
What have you been up to? Right?
Yeah, who are you sleeping with now? It's a big change from a hug,
Yeah.
And I mean, he wants a church that hugs people. That greets them with love.
So later this month, President Obama is making a special trip to the Vatican to meet with the Pope. What are they going to talk about?
Well, I think high on the Pope's agenda is going to be poor people. I mean, this president, if you take a look at his words, he hardly ever used the word poor people. He always talks about the middle class. So much so that you think he's afraid to talk about the poor because this will drive the conservatives in this country crazy. This Pope doesn't That doesn't stop him. He says we have an obligation to take care of the poor. He's concerned about the growing gap between the rich and the poor.
Yeah.
On economic issues, this Pope is to the left of Obama. Heck, he's to the left of Nancy Pelosi. And actually, Pope Benedict was too, but nobody ever noticed.
Yeah. Well, again, talk about style, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, the only thing people have paid attention to with Benedict was when he talked about gays or abortion or these kinds of things. In fact, in his encyclicals, he talked about the importance of government for the regulation of the economy. And even more extraordinary, he talked about the role of government in the redistribution of wealth. Mm-hmm. Now, how many people have you had on your program that talked about government as the purpose to redistribute wealth?
Not even the Democrats.
No.
Exactly. Well, I think the Pope and the President, again, on income inequality, that's a theme that both of them have been stressing. That's going to be a very, very important meeting.
And jobs.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. God, it's so good to have you with us today, Father. Thanks so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon, and maybe we can lure you into the studio here as well.
Good talking to you, Bill.
All right, thanks. Father Thomas Reese, you see him all over the tube. He's one of the best analysts on what's happening in the Catholic Church, particularly with Pope Francis today, at the National Catholic Reporter, ncronline.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Monday morning, February 24. How about it? Good to have you with us. And in the next segment, Will Dobson from Slate is going to join us and talk about this amazing, amazing change over the weekend in the Ukraine. Such a successful and short-lived revolution, and the president is on the run, and they don't even know where he is. I'm back from Chicago. I just want you to know I did behave myself in Chicago, and I did not insult the deep dish pizza in Chicago.
Good, okay.
I didn't have any either, but
right.
I was very careful that not.
You didn't miss anything.
Well, at least I didn't want to offend the local.
I love Chicago. I love Chicago. It's a great place. Their deep dish pizza is not pizza.
Well, you can go there without having it and still have a good time.
Good.
I have no idea of that. And a big news in the media world, just quickly in two fronts. Seth Meyers opens tonight.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Amy Poehler and Vice President Joe Biden, his first guest. I think he's going to be a huge success.
I do too.
Somebody who hasn't worked out so well in prime time is Piers Morgan. I'm sorry, I told you 3 years ago this was a big mistake to hire this guy. Number one, I don't think he's that good. Number two, he's a Brit to take Larry King's place. And finally, 3 years later, after sinking that show to the lowest ratings ever, CNN has finally said, we are pulling the plug on Piers Morgan. We'll see who gets to take his place.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. How about it? The Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union. To put all that together, sheet metal, air, rail, transportation workers, the SMART Union under President Joseph Nigro. You bet. Giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, and you can find out more about their good work at their website, smart-union.org. Out in Chicago, I had lunch with one of the representatives of the SMART Union. Good time there. And they're doing great work in the Chicago area. Well, I got to tell you, big news over the weekend, the closing of the Winter Olympics and the opening of a new day for the Ukraine with this amazing change of power. Will Dobson from Slate Magazine, our good friend, often in studio with us, talking about hot spots around the world, joins us on our news line this morning. Will Dobson is not only the politics and foreign affairs editor for Slate, he's author of a book about all of this called Events Like This. The book, The Dictator's Learning Curve Inside the Global Battle for Democracy. Will Dobson, it might have been a good idea for the former president of the Ukraine to have read your book, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a book about smart dictators, and there's a reason why there wasn't a chapter about Yanukovych.
Yeah, not one of the smart ones. It was unbelievable the way he held on. I mean, talk about living in denial, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one thing that's sort of true to form for dictators everywhere is that they're often the last ones to know. And I think that was definitely the case in this case, where it ultimately, and it was reported just over the weekend that he ultimately didn't let go until Putin called him and told him it was over.
Is that right?
Yeah,
wow.
That's right.
So where is he? Do we know?
Well, he's believed to be in the south of the country in Crimea, which would make, I mean, basically there are really only probably two places for him to be at this point. One is Crimea, because that is the part of Ukraine that is the heaviest Russian influence. That's where the Russian naval fleet is stationed.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. And there were reports that he tried to flee the country in an airplane over the weekend, and that plane was downed. So he was prevented from leaving. So it's believed that he still is in the country. But if he isn't in Crimea, I would think the next best place to look for him would be Moscow.
Well, Will he be brought, criminal charges brought against him, or are they just
I
going to let him
there's
go?
no question charges will be brought against him. The question is whether or not he'll be there to face those charges. So, I think right now probably paramount to his mind is getting out of the country. And I would not be remotely surprised if the Russians help him in that endeavor.
So what happens now in the Ukraine? I mean, and what was this revolution, if you will, all about?
Right. I mean, that's a good question because to some degree, I think the revolution, and this is also probably normally the case, it was meant different things to different people. I mean, if you really go back to what set this off, what set this off was that going back to November, there was a meeting in which Yanukovych was to attend, and everyone in his country fully expected that when he showed up at this meeting, he was going to be signing on the dotted line in a trade, an economic agreement with the European Union. For over a year, he had been signaling that was likely what he was going to do, and without ever saying expressly he would. And then when he showed up at this summit, he showed up only to say, "I'm not doing it." And at that precise time, Vladimir Putin came forward with his Ukrainian bailout package, which involves, no shortage of graft and corruption. And so, essentially, at that moment, the Ukrainian people, that's when the protests started, because they saw this not necessarily, they saw this as the turn away from Europe, and that's the direction they thought they were going. They thought they were going to be anchored in Europe, and instead they were going to be anchored in Russia as a satellite.
I find that remarkable, right, that would trigger a national revolution, that the people of the country, right, would be so upset about that. I can't imagine, for example, Americans getting so upset, right, President Obama now says we have to be focus on Asia and the Pacific, right, and not just be a Euro power, something like that, right? Now it's different for us. I'm not trying to say it's the same, but the idea that the economic direction of the country, whether tilting right or left, or east or west, would trigger something like a movement like this.
That's
get people in the streets.
Yeah, because it's more than just an economic agreement. It was an existential agreement. I mean, this is about who are we?
Mm-hmm.
That was the substance of it was the economic terms and what trade levels would be set at and import and export duties and the like. But this was considered the first step to becoming European, and that's a conflict. That's a line that you draw right down the center of the country, where half the country deeply already feels that way, and there was also sizable pluralities in the eastern part of the country that also wanted that just because it's good for business.
Right.
So it's interesting is that Yanukovych himself, if you looked at the poll numbers for him, it was split pretty evenly before this all began. I mean, it was pretty much 46-46. But on the actual agreement with the European Union, there was a majority that wanted that. And so that's what was sort of the tipping balance in terms of at least getting people out to the street. Now, the thing is this is where his stupidity sort of then comes in, which is that at that point in time, having done that and produced people in the street, it didn't, and by no means meant that had to lead to his downfall.
Right.
He did that himself.
Sure.
By cracking down on the protesters the way he did, and essentially he made the sort of the cardinal sin, something that Vladimir Putin has never done, which is with each action you're provoking exactly the opposite counter-reaction that you want. You want people to leave. He kept on doing things that made more people come out. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it was too much.
Right. In terms of now what happened, so we have a new government, and then there will be elections. A new president will be elected. Mm-hmm. Now, hasn't the Ukraine already been accepted for membership in the EU?
No. They and that's the thing is that you really, this is what's kind of crucial.
I guess I'm thinking NATO rather. I remember under Bush there was an earlier revolution, right?
Well, there was the 2004-2005 Orange Revolution,
right?
But that's the thing, and that's if there's a lesson here for the West in this is don't string them along, and that's really while we were going through the process of negotiating import, and by we I should really say the European Union, the West was going through the process of haggling with them over how much carrots should cost. Putin was coming in with bags full of cash and a stick to wallop his head with, and the reality is for Putin, this was something he was determined to win, and I should add, is in no way has given up. if we want to anchor Ukraine into Europe, we need to act in a way that really assures these people, because Putin has pulled back that money. The next $2 billion that they were supposed to receive in assistance is not going to be there. And their energy resources come directly from Russia. So it's a good thing that winter is behind us. But Russia will put the screws to Ukraine if they don't like what they see there, and there's a good chance now that they won't.
So it's important then that the EU step up and embrace them, right, and welcome them.
Exactly, unless you want to see this movie replayed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mentioned Putin. Okay, so he had a pretty good weekend in Sochi, right?
Yeah.
Russia comes off with winning the most medals of any country on their home territory.
Yeah, but he lost the one that mattered most.
Yeah, exactly. So he wins the Olympics and he loses Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. I think he would reverse that every day of the week. If he could replay this drama, he'd take Ukraine.
Where does Russia stand now with the Olympics? I mean, was that look, they spent all this money on it. So did they get their dollars worth out of it, do you think, in terms of prestige and the Russian public, seeing this as a great victory for the country?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a PR expert. It's tough to say. Was that worth it? I mean, to my mind, no, it wasn't. I don't think that anyone watching the games at the end of the day thinks, wait, oh, I see. No, Russia actually is a liberal, democratic bastion. I mean, did that actually come through? I don't think that came through. I think it came through as, hey, the Russians, they have so much money that they can throw a really big sporting event and keep the terrorists at bay, because they were chomping at the bit on the margins. But their success was, as a security operation, they kept the game safe, which was a sizable concern going into the game. So,
right. Yeah,
so in that sense, they can run it. The Russians, security operations like the best of them.
Right.
Now more than ever, we're tough.
Right.
Okay, was that $50 billion worth? I don't think so, but I think probably Vladimir Putin does.
Right.
His approval numbers right now are not that low. I mean, he's actually doing fairly well in terms of public approval ratings. I'm sure this helped internally, domestically, and that's probably what he cares about most.
Yeah. So people think, okay, they pulled it off, and there were no bombs and no security threats and all that kind of stuff. But it's still, I don't want to live there. I mean, I don't think you're going to see a flood of people who are migrating to the Soviet Union.
Right. And
to Russia.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that also, I mean, no one. This wasn't the Summer Olympics in Beijing either. I mean, so it's also. I think in some ways it was probably a pretty fair depiction of Russia in terms of, sometimes we can't get all the rings to work. There's plenty of gaudy decoration. We've got police officers who are the main event in terms of singing performers, and the security operation was tight as a fist. That's a good way to look at Russia.
All right. Well, we certainly have lessons for any dictators that are left, Will, right? It's first of all, look at Yanukovych and don't follow his example, and read your book, The Dictator's Learning Curve. Will Dobson from Slate Magazine. Thanks, Will. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you again in the studio again. Will Dobson at slate.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years. They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team, and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
Hey, here we go. 11 minutes before the top of the hour here on this Monday edition of the Bill Press Show, February 24. Good to be with you today, and thanks for joining us. Don't forget, our lines always open for your comments at 866-55-PRESS. We talked a lot last week, end of the week, Thursday and Friday, about Ted Nugent, who had called the president in one sentence a subhuman mongrel. Well, I guess it was communist raised, communist inspired, communist believer or whatever, subhuman mongrel, a Chicago gangster, all in one sentence. People from all sides condemning Ted Nugent, except Greg Abbott, the Republican candidate for governor in Texas, who's been campaigning with Ted Nugent. He still hasn't condemned anything Ted Nugent has said. But Nugent finally got enough pressure on him that he apologized. He didn't really apologize. This is as close as he comes to an apology for calling the President of the United States the racist term subhuman mongrel.
I apologize for using the Street Fighter terminology of subhuman mongrel instead of just using more understandable language such as violator of his oath to the Constitution.
Yeah, like, okay, I'm sorry. I still think he's, translation, right? I still think he's a subhuman mongrel, right. But I should have used a different phrase for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. That's, by the way, that's the Street Fighter language. Where's that come from? Right?
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, so instead, I just sort of said he violates the Constitution. Yeah, well, just how does the President of the United States violate the Constitution? You know, this is the same talking point, right? The same thing that you hear, though, from John Boehner, from Paul Ryan, from Eric Cantor, from all these Republicans who keep talking about the president, the lawless president, right? His lawlessness. Boehner saying, well, we're never going to pass any immigration reform because we can't trust President Obama to enforce the law. I mean, that's this whole new phrase right now. I got to tell you, if you ask me, the people who are not enforcing the law, the people who are lawless, they're the Republicans in Congress who were elected to represent the people that sent them to Washington. And then they come to Washington, the Tea Partiers, and now the leadership of the Republicans in the House. They come to Washington and say, we're not going to do our job. No, we're not going to do our job. We are not going to pass any bills. We're not going to do anything about immigration reform. We're not going to do anything about climate change. We're not going to raise the minimum wage. We're not going to extend unemployment benefits. We're not going to do anything. We want an absolute do-nothing Congress, and we're proud of it. They're the ones who are lawless. But Paul says they're here again to represent the people of the United States and to keep making this a better place and extending its benefits, particularly to the middle class, and helping them fulfill the American dream. So if they're not doing their job, they're the lawless ones, not President Obama. Well, I think as much of an apology as we'll ever get out of Ted Nugent.
Yeah,
right?
You're not going to get anything else out of him. That's as best as you're going to get.
Forget Ted Nugent, because he's scum, right? I keep coming back to this. The focus is Greg Abbott. Here is a man who wants to be the next governor of Texas, who wants to be a leading light in the Republican Party, and doesn't have the backbone to stand up and say, that kind of language that Ted Nugent used has no place in American politics, and I condemn it, and I want to disassociate myself from him. Until Greg Abbott does that, then Greg Abbott doesn't deserve any respect at all. And besides, Wendy Davis would make a much better governor of Texas. We'll be back to tell you what President Obama is up to today. He's got a lot of visitors at the White House today. Not just me, but a few other people are coming in too.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms. Cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
All right, 2 hours almost down. Hour number 3 coming up, and we got lots to talk about, lots more we want to get into. Clinton Yates will be joining us. He's friendly with the Washington Post, of course, joining us as a friend of Bill for the entire third hour together this morning. And we'll be joined by Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports to take a look back at the Olympics and to continue with all the news of the day. So stay with us on our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV.
This is the Bill Press Show.
President Obama, a busy day today, hosting the nation's governors. He met with the Democratic governors at the end of the last week. Now, all the governors are in town for the National Governors Association. The president and the vice president will both be delivering remarks to them in the state dining room this morning at 11 a.m. And then at 1:45 this afternoon, the president meets in the Situation Room with the governors of the western states to talk about the problems affecting that part of the country. We get together with our briefing with Jay Carney at 1:15 this afternoon. And I'm sure that I'm going to get down to the White House early because when the governors leave their meeting with the president, they'll be meeting with us reporters and talk to us outside of the West Wing. Clinton Yates from the Washington Post here is a friend of Bill in the next hour.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Poor Vladimir Putin. He won the Olympics and then he lost to Ukraine. God, can't win them all, I guess, Vlad. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Here we go. Monday, February 24th. So good to see you today. Welcome to the program here. Booming out to you live on your local progressive talk station. And you can follow us also on our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. Monday morning, February 24th. Hope you had a great weekend. I am back from the great city of Chicago. All of our good friends out there at WCPT at the DuPage County Democratic Party. Big dinner Saturday night. Huge success. Senator Dick Durbin there and Congresswoman Tammy Waldron, Congressman Bill Foster, and a whole lot of people who have turned that county blue. And all of our good sponsors there, too, Colotex Bakery and Best Vacuum and others in the Chicago area. Back here on the job and glad to welcome one of our best friends, Clinton Yates, blogger, columnist for the Washington Post, in studio this hour as a friend of Bill.
How you doing, Bill?
How are you?
I'm well.
Good. You got the whole team here?
Yeah.
Peter Ogburn.
Happy Monday.
Elisa
Murphy.
Good morning. Glad to be here. Like I said, I watched some cops flirting with Dunkin' Donuts employees before I got here. That was gross. But, sometimes you got to see it. They protect and serve and other things as well.
To protect and to serve and to maybe ask you for your digits every now and then.
Exactly.
Lisa Cruz there on the phone line, and Cyprian Bolding keeping us looking good on the video stream. And I do want you to know the highlight of my trip out to Chicago was a little visit to Colotex Bakery. I tweeted out some photographs. This is a phenomenal place on Harlem Avenue there in Oak Park, just outside Chicago, and tweeted out they serve bake 44 different kinds of breads.
Wow.
They have an incredible meat department there with all kinds of smoked meat, smoked trout, smoked salmon, all kinds of smoked meats. Just phenomenal. And they have in the bakery side, too, they have these beautiful, beautiful cakes. And then they have a selection of cookies like you would not believe. I mean...
Did you sleep there, too?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. You keep talking about all this stuff.
Where is the product?
Look at this.
Wow.
You've been talking about it all morning.
Am I delivering? I was just waiting until Clinton got here.
He cooks, too.
Sneak that in, dude. I didn't even see you sneak that in.
How about that? Wow. Here are the cookies from Colotex Bakery here. Just, do I think of our team and,
Thank you very much.
It's a beautiful spread there.
Yeah,
radio.
I have one. Let me see. I just want to see what you got.
All right. Okay.
Look at all these.
That was a legit old school reveal.
That really was.
For those of you who aren't watching and are listening, he went under the desk and pulled out a tray of cookies.
I had no idea.
Peter just screamed out loud. That was great.
Yeah, he's been giving me crap all morning for not bringing anything back from Colotex Bakery. By the way, these are also for Elisa and Alicia and Cyprian too, and
well, they're gonna have to hurry up.
There's a limit.
You're hosting the show, and you're getting a cookie. Really,
it's a cookie break.
It's time for me. All right, it points to me. So these are pretty good. They've got a flakier. They've got a flakier texture. This one I've got has a sort of a chocolate swirl on top with a somewhat caramelly filling. I'm not as good at describing these things as Peter is.
I think I just got the best cookie in the mix. It's got some sort of a custard, and this is good cookie.
This is good. I like
this it. This is chocolate covered. It is so good.
Yeah,
this is trouble.
There's nothing like starting your day with cookies
for breakfast, dude.
Exactly. All right.
Thank you. These are great, by the way.
So to Bart and all the good friends out there, Colotex Bakery, I'm telling you, it's worth the price of a plane ticket to Chicago to go to Colotex Bakery. Round trip. Yep. Well, certainly if you're in the Chicago area, get your butt over there. And tell them Bill sent you. And then maybe they'll send us some more cookies.
Thanks, Cole.
Got a lot coming up. Did you watch the
Daytona 5?
Daytona 5?
I watch it every year, yeah. I watch
Is that right?
Too. Absolutely.
So yesterday, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he was back. And you see all these cars crashing into each other. You want to know how one car makes it through? Dale Earnhardt, he tells us, here's how he wins it.
Those last few laps, I just, I got in front of my teammate Jeff for that restart, worked with him on getting a good restart and getting pushed out in front. So I got to thank him. I mean, without that, I don't win the race. And then once I got out front, I just kind of listened to my spotter TJ and started watching in the mirror and seeing what lane I needed to get in front of, who I needed to get in front of to get shoves. And I knew I had some tough competition back there.
There it is. This is sounds easy the way he described it.
He had a plastic bag on his grill for like the last 10 laps.
Did
I don't
he
know
really?
if you saw that. He picked up some debris on the front of his car, and it was kind of an issue. He was trying to, at one point, he was trying to draft the pace car so that it would sort of fly off. And he almost wrecked the pace car. It was crazy. Like, he was right behind it, sort of going back and forth, and the pace car just sort of, pace car is a completely different car than a stock car. It's a regular vehicle. And he's going back and forth, looking like he's getting ready to fishtail it. It was a weird moment before the end of the race, actually.
All right. We got it covered here with Clinton Yates, and then Travis Waldron from the Think Progress Sports will join us at the half to wrap up a little bit of Olympics and other sports news. There's a lot of it out today. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Why don't you guys eat some cookies here while I talk for a second? Here's a couple of other stories making news. Tomorrow in the Maryland Senate, a bill filed by Senator Robert Zirkin could make it possible for marijuana to be decriminalized in the state of Maryland. WJLA here in Washington reporting on the story, talking about the bill. They're going to make it a civil offense. It would make it a civil offense to possess less than 10 grams worth of marijuana, punishable by a $100 fine, but no longer attached to any criminal charge. So that's a possible step forward here closer to home.
It doesn't go far enough. They have to legalize it.
I don't disagree with you.
If they really want to make money, they have to legalize it.
Quick plug I'll save for Mark Fisher, my colleague at the Washington Post. Did a great story this Saturday about how the nation overall has changed their attitudes about what marijuana should be and is not in our society. And it was a very good look back at sort of advertising and all these different things with a chart of how it's polled over the decades. And it was fascinating.
A good story of the weekend. I was sure it was that one or another one I saw, where in Colorado they're making a ton more money than they ever expected from pot.
Right.
Tax revenue.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that information.
You live in Maryland.
I do live in Maryland. We've talked a lot about Jason Collins, who came out as a gay athlete, who's a professional basketball player. Sat out for a little while, but over the weekend it was made official. He's been picked up by the Brooklyn Nets on a 10-day contract. Last night was his first game as a Brooklyn Net. They played the Lakers in Los Angeles. The good news is the Brooklyn Nets won 108-102. Collins played for 10 minutes, 37 seconds. He had 1 rebound, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, and 5 fouls.
Hey, his plus-minus, though, his efficiency rating. I'm serious. His plus-minus was like +8 in the 11 minutes that he played. That's what the guy does. He's a glue guy, so to speak, on in the front court.
10 minutes, 37 seconds, and you pick up 5 fouls. You're playing physical.
Maximizing your time.
Exactly. And you remember Bill de Blasio, New York City mayor? He famously ate his pizza with a knife and fork. Mm-hmm. Well, the fork that he made famous is up for auction, and it brought in $2,500. It's going to benefit charity. The anonymous bidder was one of 6 that made bids during an online auction that ended on Friday. Proceeds will benefit the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation. So there you go. A piece of New York history now auctioned off.
Wow. The fork. The fork that they all gave him crap for using.
Well, what about the knife? What? I mean, I don't understand how you're selling that silverware as a separate piece set. That's weird.
That's next year's auction.
Right.
You know, the foundation actually gave the fork back to the restaurant in Staten Island.
Huh.
So now they have this kind of monumental piece of history.
How funny.
On the wall.
Yeah.
I got no problem with eating pizza with a knife and fork, by the way. I mean, you know, you guys are buying $5,000 suits. You want to keep it clean. Do what you got to do. I don't look down upon that at all. It's some people. It's reasonable.
Thank you. I said the same thing when we were talking about that. Oh gosh, where to start today? I got to start with Alec Baldwin, who's never been one of my favorite people, but he just gave an interview for New York Magazine, which is one of the most hate-filled diatribes I have ever seen. What's up with this guy?
You know, there was a time when I used to defend him on a certain level because I thought that his approach toward acting and his approach toward Hollywood had a certain everyman quality that even though he was clearly not in, he understood that most other people sort of recognized about himself. You know, he was sort of, the rough and tumble guy from the family, of actors, whatever. But for the last couple years, his detachment from reality has been so stark and so drastic that you really start to wonder if something else is going on, something else is truly wrong with what he thinks, or if it's just a heightened level of myopia that has spun out of control. It's impossible to understand. I mean, like, to get to the specifics of that story, in trying to defend himself against being called a homophobe, he, number one, uses a derogatory term for transsexuals or transgenders. And number two, he says that what he called somebody was not the F word, which is, a certain slur that we hear a lot of times, but another term that is equally vulgar and equally insulting and just as much of a slur. And I'm like, do you not understand that this logic does not add up here? You are, and so.
And then he personally attacks Anderson Cooper, Andrew Sullivan, and Rachel Maddow, and just goes down the list and says they're phonies or kind of whatever. I mean, yeah.
It's really weird.
Why did MSNBC ever hire him?
I have no idea.
That was like the shortest-lived TV show.
Yeah.
I think they realized what a major liability that guy was pretty quickly.
Well, he describes it in the story, too, and it is a pretty foul description of what's going on at MSNBC, and I wouldn't know. But, again, it's just one of these situations where you look at his life and you're like, how did it get to this? I mean, he must have what we call in the business FU money, because at this stage, it's going to be hard for him to walk onto sort of any set.
The headlines that I've seen this morning have said Alex Baldwin, his departure from public life,
right?
Almost. He's basically just saying, I don't want anything to do with any of you anymore, and I'm out of here. Right?
Sidebar, quick story that I found in my research for this. Alec Baldwin, when he was at George Washington University right here in the district, lost an election for whatever, student body president or whatever, and after that, transferred schools, went to NYU. So,
well, he says in the story that he's moving to L.A. because he said what he hated loved about New York was you could walk around and and go in restaurants and shops, because New York is sort of accept that. And he says in L.A. everybody lives behind locked gates and with security, and so you never have to mix with the public. And he hated that about L.A. Now that's what he wants.
God forbid he's got to deal with the hoi polloi. I mean, I just don't even understand that approach to life.
It's not the L.A. that I know, and I lived there for 10 years. You see you see stars all over the place, and you sort of accept it because you're living in Hollywood, right? So I don't know what he's thinking. I think he's divorced from reality, and I think Ted Nugent is divorced from reality too. Do you accept his apology for calling our first African-American president a subhuman mongrel?
No, but I want to get a T-shirt that says subhuman mongrel on it and just wear it around town. That's a great old school guy on a porch with a shotgun diss. You're like, what are you even, who says that? Mongrel? Really?
Yeah.
Like that sounds like something out of a Western, but no, I heard his apology, and it was very much one of those, I apologize if you were offended versus I actually concede that I did something wrong and or inappropriate.
And he still says basically, I still believe he is. I still believe that. I just shouldn't have used those two words. I should have used some other words. Like he says, I'm sorry I used the street fighter term.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I have no idea what that
means. Is Ted Nugent fighting people in the streets? Like, when did he become the guy, my go-to street fighter guy? I don't even understand what that is. I mean, he wears camo and screams into microphones every 3 weeks or so, and that seems to be the only thing that he's good at this stage. But again, I think what's to be noted,
why
though,
wouldn't Greg Abbott, the Republican, and the reason we talk about this is because he endorsed Greg Abbott and then said this stuff, and everybody's waiting for Greg Abbott to say, like John McCain had done for some of his supporters, no, you don't say that about President Obama. I keep waiting for this Greg Abbott to say, no, Ted Nugent is wrong when he says that.
I think he's probably riding a wave of popularity and discussion about it until he decides to do it. I mean, once people forget about what Ted Nugent said, then he'll probably dismiss him, because at this point it is giving him some extra ratings, for lack of a better term.
What I think is interesting, though, is a callback to our conversation with Alec Baldwin. I think that a lot of progressives and people who consider themselves liberals saw the Alec Baldwin stuff and were like, whoa, dude, you got to back up, and you can't say that, and you need to apologize, and MSNBC, we're fine with you getting rid of him or whatever. And then you look at Ted Nugent, and he's being embraced and brought in by, front runners for the governor of Texas. And Republicans, making apologies for him.
That's an interesting comparison.
Did CNN make a mistake in firing Piers Morgan?
I don't know. I mean,
he says he quit.
Whatever. I think the Piers Morgan, the issue with Piers Morgan was that I just don't think the kind of show that he the kind of show that works best for his personality and his style is not that kind of a show to me. Just sitting people down and him talking to them, to me, him actually being out in the streets of America would be a far more interesting show to me as a Brit, watching him interact with normal people rather than just those that are sort of already famous. I mean, I think his insights are best served when he's commenting on what he finds unusual about American society as compared to what he understands from English society. It's not just sort of random takes on the day and talking to other people. So, I know that he was kind of smug and he annoyed a lot of folks. But again, if he didn't have a British accent, I don't think people would think he was as smug as he is. He's got a couple things going against him, but I just don't think that show worked.
You know who's going to take his place, don't you?
I do not.
Peter knows.
My prediction anyway. I think Jay Leno gets that.
Are you? Oh, seriously?
I do.
Because I saw a couple tweets about that.
I do think so.
Jay
Leno. God, that would be insufferably annoying.
I know. Yeah. I agree.
I think it would be brilliant on the part of CNN. Absolutely brilliant. It would put CNN back on the map.
But what does that show do? I mean, is that a show you're supposed to laugh at? Is that a show that, what do you do there? Do you just do The Tonight Show over again? I'm not really sure I know where that goes.
No, you don't do The Tonight Show. Jay Leno, I think he could pull it off, and I'll tell you, it would get the ratings.
Yeah.
Oh, man, we're all over the place this morning, all over the map. We're going to take a cookie break here. We'll be right back.
I am going to have another cookie.
On the Bill Press Show. Stay with us here, and your call's welcome. For me or Clinton Yates.
I'm here.
At 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
As a home buyer in today's fast-paced real estate,
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour, Travis Waldron will be joining us from Think Progress Sports in the next half hour with Clinton Yates. Here is a friend of Bill from the Washington Post. Clinton and our regular team here as well. I want to ask you about this law out in Arizona, the so-called Religious Freedom Restoration Act, or they're calling it the Christian Shield, which says that business owners, restaurant owners, whatever, they can just refuse service to anybody who happen to be gay or lesbian if their faith tells them that their way of life is wrong. This is am I seeing echoes of an earlier time in our history?
Echoes. I mean, there's no echoes. I mean, you hear that kind of language and you think to yourself, wait, are you serious? Refusing service to people? Like, how do you even, it's 2014, how do you even justify that in your minds? And is it Jan Brewer? Is that who she, it's her decision to do this.
Right.
By the end of the week, and she said, I was reading a story where she said, I'm listening to my constituents, I'm, sort of thinking with it about God, I'm reading a lot on the internet, and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, you're a human being. Like, there is no scenario in which, in this country or really any other, we should be trying to find ways to justify extra division between people. And I'm not sure that I understand the logic of, well, people should be allowed to practice their faith without any sort of repercussions. And it's like, well, no. I mean, that's the root of what discrimination is when you start not allowing other people to do things that they want, which is excluding other people. To me, this is beyond scary. I mean, let's be real about this. I mean, Arizona is on the wrong path, if you ask me about this. And it has nothing to do with politics. It's just simple human kindness.
It has nothing to do with religion either.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, these people these are the same, they're the sons and daughters, if you will, the same people who use the Bible to say the Bible tells me not to serve blacks in this country.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's frightening.
Absolutely. Travis Waldron. On sports, we'll talk about the Olympics and a lot of other stuff coming up here. Clinton Yates staying with us.
This
I hope you do too.
is the Bill Press Show. on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, on a Monday morning, February 24th, 33 minutes after the hour now, the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, the good men and women of the AFT. Our great teachers of America under President Randy Weingarten flew with her to Chicago on Friday, actually. Well, we were both on the same plane, I should say, United Airlines. Those teachers making a difference in the classrooms every day. You bet. You can find out more about their good work at aft.org. Speaking of our nation's capital, the man who tries to keep our nation's capital honest, or at least let us know what's going on, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post. Here is a friend of Bill this hour. Clinton,
it's me.
Thanks
How are
again. Now we're joined by a good friend, Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports. Here with the end of the Olympics, wrapping everything up. Hi, Travis. Good to see you again.
You too. Thanks for having me.
So Russia walked off with more medals than anybody else. Was that worth $50 billion?
I don't know. They did a nice job. I think it might have been had they won the hockey. Had they at least gotten a medal in hockey. I think that's still the great disappointment of this Olympics for Russia is no hockey medal. But hey, not to dig on DC, but it seems like Alex Ovechkin
easy now.
The easy out, the early out.
I think that tournament was over for them when they didn't get put in the shootout. It was like the guy's the best scorer in the NHL, and he can't find the puck in a game that matters against the United States of America. That was crazy to me, but I think he lost the psychological edge from there, and they were out.
He never really lived up to his promise, did he? I mean, I
don't know. Look, the guy's a great player in the NHL, but that's about it.
Well, he's a great player. I think that when they had four scorers up front. It's kind of they spread the wealth, and they did it. They played their best game was against the U.S., and then they struggled from there, and they didn't really look good in the opening rounds either, other than the game against the U.S. And
well, the U.S. looked great in that particular game. Why didn't they show up against Finland? Wasn't
Finland? Well, it started against Canada. They looked bad against Canada. They were lucky to lose 1-0.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to watch the Finland game. I was actually watching soccer, like a good American. But it apparently was ugly. 5-0.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Finland semifinal against the Swedes, and they didn't have Rask, who's their starting goalie. And after the Americans lost to Canada, I said, there goes a medal, and people are like, oh, you idiot, they still got to play the third place game. I'm like, no, they have no chance to beat the Finns because the Finns are strong. I mean, people forget that the Finns are a hockey nation. Like, these aren't just random dudes skating around on the ice.
When they beat Russia, everyone was kind of like, I can't believe they lost to Finland. It's like, wait, Finland is one of the big five here. Like,
exactly.
If you if you made the list of the teams that had a good medal chance when the Olympics started, Finland would have been in that group.
Absolutely.
I do love that Teemu Selanne is still playing hockey.
Old man Teemu scoring goals left and right. He's great.
Yeah. So, but I want to go back to that central question because obviously for Putin this was a big deal, right? Put everything on the line. They were worried about the security. That's all we talked about for 2 weeks. Was how soon was a terrorist attack going to come? They got through the games, no security threats. There were a lot of the snow wasn't so great, but they pulled it off. Big opening ceremonies, big closing ceremonies. They got a lot of publicity, and they did come out with the most medals of any country. So now what happens, right? Where do you go? Is Sochi going to be the new winter resort on the planet, or?
I highly doubt that. I mean, I don't think you're going to see people jumping on planes to go to Sochi at this stage.
And
but
then I guess you have to balance. So he wins the Olympics, but he loses Ukraine, which was more important. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
In the scheme of things.
The geopolitical situation in that part of the world is always dicey. I mean, like, you don't even have to get to Ukraine. I mean, the whole scenario with just what's happening in Sochi and further up in
the whole region.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's the central question about these types of sporting events, right? Are they ever worth it? And I guess it depends on how you define worth it. Economically, no. No. There's no rationale for spending $50 billion. Are Russians better off? Are they happier? Did they enjoy it? I mean, it's one of those
happy that they had
costs.
such a good showing, but I don't think their average life is going to be any better because of the Olympics there. And they've got seriously, they've got like 40,000 hotel rooms. It's going to be easy to get a hotel room in Sochi from there.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's hope that all the people that they displaced to build those have places to live. You know, I mean, this is why there were so many stray dogs. It wasn't just because people don't care. It's because they were putting people out of apartments in order to build these accommodations for the Olympics, and people just had to leave their pets, which is nuts.
I think the key is to keep having the conversations that we're having right now that we had through the Olympics, and not to forget that there are still a lot of issues in Russia. We can't, they jailed environmental activists because they criticized the Olympics. They jailed Pussy Riot right in the middle of the Olympics.
Beating people in the middle of town squares.
They have the stray dogs. They have all of these, obviously the LGBT issues. And
I saw a headline this morning that they're expecting a Putin LBG crackdown, post-Olympic crackdown.
Right, and it's easy for the world when all of the media is in Sochi to focus on that. But, I don't think we can afford to forget it now that it's over. The same way that, when everyone leaves Brazil in July of this year after the World Cup, Brazil's issues aren't done because of the World Cup, because the World Cup is over. We're going back to Russia for the World Cup in 4 years. All of this is probably going to flare up again. And I think that's one of the problems with the way we talk about these events. They're not just sporting events. They're major social events. They're major events in the country, major political events. And to pretend that for 3 weeks the whole world cares about Russia and what happens to Russians and everything. Well, they're still there. Yeah. There's still a lot of issues there. And to say, oh, well, we don't need to care about them anymore because we had a good time and, our media members were safe and our fans were safe while we were there, so great.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It keeps going.
Good problems remain. You and I, Clinton, talked about Jason Collins back when he stepped up, came out, and he was out of a job for a while. He got a job, and he played last night.
Yeah,
so
told you, plus minus, high efficiency rating. 11 minutes, 5 fouls,
It's the most Jason. It's the pure Jason Collins line.
Exactly.
Like when he finally retires, this line will be known as the Jason Collins. Like the 5 fouls in 10 minutes, one shot at him.
Yes. But and then the world survived, right? The sky didn't fall, and almost like no big deal.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And Trevor made a good point, which is like, hey, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to follow the guy around and ask him about his orientation for 10 games at a time. That makes no sense journalistically or ethically. That's just a dumb thing to do. And so I think it made the point where it's like, yes, it'll be a big deal in a good way, and then people will move on and just watch sports, which is the reason they're there to begin with.
Right. Yeah. And so now we've got Michael Sam coming up right for the next draft, or for the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm. I think this makes it easier.
Also, it makes it less of a story, do you think?
Not less of a story. I still think it's a big story because he's the first one that is entering the league as an openly gay man, and it's the NFL. Not to downplay the NBA, but the NFL is the biggest sport in America, and it's also one of those, the idea of like toughness and things like, because all those myths that you sort of have to dispel are right about there in the NFL, football, right? About football and about like gay men not being tough enough to play and things like that, which is nonsense. Right. But I think this hopefully will make it easier for Michael Sam because we're going to see, I think, that Jason Collins won't be this like massive media story. It is for now, but it's temporary, and they're going to see that. The Nets said yesterday, this was a basketball decision. We signed this guy because we think he can help our team. Somebody in the NFL is going to do that with Michael Sam. His career is going to go on, and it's just not going to be that big of an issue. It's not going to be the distraction label. Like Jason Collins comes in last night, the Nets win. Was it because of Jason Collins? Probably not. But like he didn't distract them from winning. Yeah. I assume Jason Collins took a shower in the locker room last night, and
the whole distraction thing is so condescending on so many levels. Just in general, as a discussion point, I mean, I realize that on some level it makes sense, but the reason why things are a distraction are the wrong reasons.
Right, they're because you're distracted,
exactly.
Not because he's a distraction.
Precisely,
it's like Ray Rice this week.
Ray
Rice.
That's a distraction. Okay,
Ray Rice last week gets caught on film dragging his girlfriend out of an elevator. She looks unconscious. The Ravens come out and say, "Well, we expect him to be with the Ravens next year." So what? You can commit crimes. You can be a domestic abuser. Just don't love a man.
Yeah,
because then you're a distraction. And I think like this, Jason Collins is going to help
Michael Sam
paved the way for Michael Sam in a way of. But you got to find new excuses.
Clinton, I was really disappointed in that Sports Illustrated article after Michael Sam came out. Some of the comments, anonymous comments,
of course,
by some players and some coaches, just saying, no, maybe 5-10 years from now we'll be ready. We're not ready now, that kind of crap.
Again, we talk about language that sounds like language that was being used back in times when people were discriminating against other people. This is exactly what folks said about black players in the league and in any league.
Or in the military.
Or whatever. It's like, oh, we're not ready now. We'll be ready later. Yeah. If not now, when? And why would you be more ready in 10 years or 5 years or 2 days than you would be today? It doesn't make sense.
But how soon before we see some players who are on teams now just say, oh yeah, I've been here, I've been playing for this team for 3 years and
well, to be fair, that's what Jason Collins did.
Yeah.
I mean, when he came out, he was on a team. He just happened to come back to the Nets.
I was talking NFL.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I think the NFL, my theory with the NFL is that once Mike Sam gets drafted, and it's kind of, because I think he's going to get drafted. He works out today at the Combine, which will be big for him.
Yeah.
Purely on a football.
Because level. I have this theory.
And I think so. I think it's sort of this thing that once guys start to figure out this isn't an issue, they come out. I think you make the point, and the NFL's never going to be ready for a gay player.
Yeah.
You're not ready. It happens, and you figure out that it's not that big of a deal. The same way that Major League Baseball wasn't ready for Jackie Robinson.
Right.
If they'd have waited until they were ready, how long would it have taken?
Exactly.
I mean, it ignores the point that Jackie Robinson was important in making American society more open.
Right. Forget about
to
just
desegregation.
Baseball. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's sports has followed on LGBT issues for a long time. I think this is a chance for sports to start to take that same leadership role and say the whole mantra of the organization that works with the NHL, that if you can play, you can play.
Yeah.
And once you can do that, once you show sports this world that is perceived as way more homophobic than anything else, rightly or wrongly, it starts to break down barriers in other places too. And this is a workplace.
Yeah, so both sports can actually make a positive contribution. That has in many ways. Still got a long ways to go. We're here with Clinton Yates and Travis Waldron. All things sports this half hour. 866-55-PRESS. Join the conversation at any time. We'll be back for the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show. seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour. It's a Monday morning, February 24 here. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital with Clinton Yates here as a friend of Bill from the Washington Post. Of course, WashingtonPost.com. And Travis Waldron from Think Progress, thinkprogress.org here. Their sports reporter at Think Progress. Gentlemen, one thing that caught my attention this morning in the world of sports, the NFL now is saying that they are considering recommending, I'm reading this from Huffington Post this morning, recommending a new rule proposal where players would be penalized 15 yards for using the N-word on the field or for using a homophobic slur, the F-word or some other words on the field. So the refs would be the new, not thought police, but talk police, I guess, right? Is that what we're talking about? I mean, Clinton?
Yeah, I mean, I this is mind-boggling to me. That means 15-yard penalty? I don't care about the amount of the penalty. It's the whole notion that
the idea of it.
The idea, the concept that refs have to be listening to what other guys are saying to it. I mean, it's hard enough to referee an NFL game as is. And I'll let Travis get to the point about sort of whom this really affects the most. But let's look at as well the inherent internal logic fail here. Right here in the district, you have a franchise that is named after what many people consider and what the commissioner of the league has conceded is a term that is
defined in the dictionary.
Right, that is defined in the dictionary as a slur. So you're going to have, basically you're saying, you know what, if your franchise is worth a couple $1 billion, it's okay. But if you're on the field saying a word that people don't like to other people, we're going to penalize you. It doesn't make sense.
But how are you going to enforce this, for one thing, too? I mean, the refs, I heard him say that. Well, they can say, I didn't say that, right? What, is they going to have the microphones to capture it and take the time to listen to the tape or something?
I also don't understand why the penalty. If you're like, fine a guy if it's that bad. I mean, that's the normal course of action. That's been when Kobe Bryant used a gay slur on the bench, they fined him. Okay, that works. I don't understand the penalty aspect.
But I just want to make sure I understand. So that means that just not that player would be penalized.
The whole team.
The team. They would lose ground 15 yards on the field. Each time that somebody used one of those words.
Apparently.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it's particularly egregious offenses of. I mean, there's no way to know how you would regulate this at all.
And I think I saw somebody make the point we were talking about. I think it was Bomani Jones. I might have been someone else on Twitter last night that this is sort of a penalty against black players. I'm not sure how many white players are using the N-word on the field. Riley Cooper used it at a concert. He didn't use it on the field. And I think there's a larger debate to be had within the black community maybe about I know there's a larger debate going on about whether the word should be used. I don't think that's the NFL's place to jump in.
I agree. And there's another factor here, which is that every single owner in the NFL is white. You know what I mean?
Well, with the exception of one.
3/4 of the league. Well,
Samir Khan.
Pardon me. Yes. Sorry, there is
not
one.
Black.
Yeah, There, and what? 2/3 of the league are black players.
I think so.
So you've got that awkward scenario where effectively you're talking about a bunch of white guys deciding what a primarily black league should and should not be saying to each other about a word that is one of the most divisive, but at the same time, it's probably the most loaded word in the English language in this country.
But you're not saying it's okay for blacks to use it and not for whites to use it.
That's a different discussion.
Right,
whether or not people make personal choices about the words they want to use, and I'm not. This is something that I tell you right now. As a 32-year-old black man, I have struggled with my personal relationship with that word as it exists in my framework. I mean, that's honest. You know what I mean? I don't know. I've tried to stop sort of using that word as casually as I once did as a younger man. I can certainly admit that. But by the same time, I'm not in a position where I feel it's appropriate for me necessarily to be telling anybody what they should and should not do regarding their usage of the word.
Well, because it's to tie it back to the Redskins thing again. The Dan Snyders of the world say, well, Native Americans don't have a problem with this. Okay, but some might not. Some might even use it as the kind of reclaim it to use it. I'm not sure I don't think it's his place to name a football team that.
Right.
And I'm not sure it's the NFL's place
to determine who can say that word and who can't versus
because I just think there's much deeper, there's much more history there than for the Rooneys and Roger Goodell, et cetera.
I don't see any way the NFL adopts this rule.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, it's not like it'd be the first time we had a bunch of white guys making decisions. The NBA dress code was, there's some racial elements to that too. And, this is something the leagues are trying to market. And
hey, guys, we're out of time. Great conversation. It'll continue with Travis Waldron. Thanks, Travis.
Thank you.
Clinton, always good to have you here, man.
Hey, man, I love
the cookies just for you. I'll be back with a party shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, you've heard us talk about it this morning, and just one more final word on this crazy Arizona bill that passed the legislature, the so-called Religious Freedom Restoration Act, or the so-called Christian Shield. Let's be clear about this. This is nothing but pure discrimination. There is nothing Christian about it, and the Bible the Bible, let's put it, preaches love, not hate, and those who want to hide behind the Bible to discriminate against gays and lesbians are just dead wrong. Folks, have a great Monday. Come back and see us right here again tomorrow morning.